JavaScript frameworks to get to know which framework works best for you, will work best for you, and how you can actually get started. So today we'll be having 5 sessions, one on vanilla, that is pure JavaScript, and then we have a session on Vue JS, a session on React JS, a session on Gatsby, and another session on Angular. So these are a lot of frameworks. People just when they are done learning the basics and the important parts of JavaScript, they just go around and pick whatever people tell them to pick. They don't try to see how it will work best for them, and then learn how they can actually get started with some of this framework. They just jump in and just start. Okay, React is popular, then they just start React. Yes, Vue is popular, then they just start Vue without really knowing what they should consider before choosing any of these frameworks. So today, on our schedule, we have introduction to the community, the JavaScript community, by the organizer, Abdul Abubakar. So he's going to give us a brief introduction of the community. His talk is just 10 minutes, if up to 10 minutes. So Abdul Kudus, are you here with us? Abdul, are you here?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, please
Yeah.
give us an introduction to the community.
I guess it's 10 a.m. already. So usually I would have I'll be turned on my camera, but it's too early in the morning. I've not had my bath, so I can't have you guys looking at my face right now. Yeah. So good morning, everyone. I'm Abdul Kudus, organizer for JavaScript Mina, and I want to welcome everyone. Um, So I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'm sure you guys actually came here to listen to the amazing speakers we have, talk about the various frameworks we have in JavaScript. So I'm just going to say a brief introduction to JavaScript Mina. So late last year, there was this meetup that was organized, and someone made mention of the fact that we have so little language focused communities in Nigeria, and truth be told, they are so little. So we came up with this idea where we create um, a language focused community in Niger State, Nigeria. So we decided to go with JavaScript for now, and we had the first meetup late last year, and so far it's been successful. So we decided, all right, why not organize an online event because of all this corona and all of that. So today we'll be looking at front-end frameworks. We have so many amazing speakers. We have Awa, we have Mark, we have Bami, we have Obina, we have Hassan. They'll be guiding us through the various frameworks we have in JavaScript. There are so many more, but due to time, we can't cover everything. If we were to cover everything, I'm not sure we'll leave here even after a week. All right, so all that said, I'm going to hand over the mic to Aliu to continue. Thank you very much. Yeah, Aliu.
Okay, thank you very much, Abdul Kudus,
Yeah.
for the brief introduction. So we should get started, right? I'm sure most of us are eager to see what will be shared with today. So the first session we have, of course, before we talk about any framework, we have to talk about why vanilla is important and why you should not just jump into other frameworks without having a strong foundation of vanilla. So our first session today is on vanilla, and uh, our MS is going to be the one to do the honors to help us to tell us more of vanilla and why it is important. So basically our MS is a software engineer and is the program manager for developer student clubs in sub-Saharan Africa. Is JavaScript connoisseur. Is he preaches JavaScript a lot. He loves JavaScript and he loves the web too. is passionate about the web and anything JavaScript. So, I will good morning and thank you for joining us. Please, let's have your session. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much to the organizers and everyone. Okay, let me try sharing my screen and we can get started. Okay, I believe you can see my screen. Can we see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah. So this, thank you very much for joining. My name is Awal MS, like Ali Abakar and Abdul said, and I work for Google as a program manager in charge of developer student clubs, basically trying to help students scale up their they have enough resources and tools to their tool belt to be able to be employable once they leave school. So and for today's talk is all about why you should select Vanilla JS as your framework of choice, right? Or like at least, even if it's not for all projects, but for most of the projects or for uh, some of the projects that you will want to work on. Sorry, I went through this. So I'm a software engineer.
Sorry, before you start,
Can, hello,
I don't know if the recording
I didn't get you. Were you saying
we can
something?
hear you.
Okay, somebody was using glue somewhere in the background. Okay, yeah. So program manager at the Professor Clubs, Sub-Saharan Africa. I am a software engineer for the web platform. So I used to be an Android dev. So I usually call myself a retired Android developer, right? My passion and interests are with engineering and community. So seeing how um, being an engineer myself, I still have passions for sharing my knowledge, seeing people share their knowledge, give people the platform to start their own journey, share with the community, learn from the community, and grow with the community. My handle is AwalMS across all platforms: GitHub, LinkedIn, everything, you name it. Yeah. So first question is what is vanilla? And normally that's what you possibly be asking. What is vanilla JS? It's a fast, very lightweight, has cross-platform support, and it's used for building incredibly powerful applications for the web platform. So, if you're interested in building an app and then you want something that is lightweight and very very fast that supports across whether you're using Internet Explorer, uh, the old version and the new version, or if you're using Chrome, you're using Mozilla Firefox, or whatever platform you use, whatever framework, whatever library or whatever thing you're trying to build, right? So if you list of companies that use vanilla JavaScript, so you can see Google, you can see Amazon, you can see all other platform, all over other companies, and even you can also add the name of the companies you want here because like literally everybody uses vanilla. Whether you want to use it intentionally or not, you definitely will end up using vanilla at the tail end of things. Um, so most times people have I get to meet people to ask them, okay, why are you using a framework? And then they start telling you stories, things about what they feel, uh, what was their reason. So basically, I didn't mention this. I write literally I write all of the frameworks that are going to be presented here, and I still have my preference for vanilla for obvious reasons. But some of the mites that like usually hear is vanilla is harder than frameworks. Um, so it's one of these things that people keep saying. So when a beginner is starting up, when somebody is starting his journey and decided to go to the web and find his way to trying to add interactivity to your platform, probably to make things much user friendly. You get people start telling you, um, go and use either framework A or framework B or framework C or framework D. Like it depends. Different people tell you to use different frameworks for different reasons. And beginners will tell you, and when you tell beginners, hey, go back and use vanilla, somebody will tell you, no, vanilla is too hard. Like vanilla is actually not hard. Like at least not in the current setting. With year six, many things have been made easier, and like we literally have support for literally everything. Anything a anything a framework can do can actually be written by vanilla, but people still find it hard, and it's really funny and surprising to see this. And when you go to write frameworks other than vanilla, you end up still writing vanilla. So like somebody went for an interview recently and was asked to explain what is the map method in JavaScript. The person said, in his word, the map method is a React tool. It's a React function for adding items to a list. So it clearly means this person did not um, did not learn vanilla. He just went ahead and jumped to React, and then went there and found uh, the map function in React, and then figured maybe it's just something that is available only for React, not knowing that um, it's actually a JavaScript thing. So other people said vanilla documentation for vanilla JavaScript sucks. This is a very hard one. Yes, I always give example of one of the best documentation I've ever read is the one for Vue.js. Vue.js have like one of the best documentation I've seen, and I had to accept that. Um, but like vanilla JavaScript documentation is not really bad. At least Mozilla Developer Network is it's really nice. If you probably start reading from the beginner section to probably going to read more on the methods and functions available, you should be able to understand. So I know it is actually not beginner friendly. If, for example, you just uh, say you went and search for each JavaScript for each, you definitely will find something. You find the documentation referencing other functions in other pages, which is not what some beginners expect. But on a very honest note, vanilla JavaScript documentation is not as bad as people paint it to be. Yeah, the other thing is people keep saying vanilla JS is bad for what do you call it, for accessibility. Um, that's actually not true. Web accessibility has less to do with JavaScript itself and more to do with how you write your HTML. So if you are this type that possibly expect the JavaScript part of your app to be able to take care of things like your IDs and to be able to add the alt attribute of the image tag, or to probably add uh, say some of the semantic accessibility things that needed to be added, and you're blaming it on vanilla, it's really not true. So if you look at it the other way around, when you're writing some of these frameworks, you get to only write say only the component without you checking if, okay, did the component actually specify uh, the other attribute that needed the semantic attributes that are needed. So like you're used to writing div all over the places, and then probably didn't spend your time trying to understand that you need to use semantic uh, HTML tags, and then you end up blaming vanilla for your mistake. This is more of like a people problem than a tool problem, right? So vanilla is not your issue. Another thing is somebody said, people keep saying, if you want a faster app, please use a framework, guys. So one good thing about vanilla is the fact that um, we don't need to add extra overhead. So if you've read The Course of JavaScript by Andy Osmani, you will see where he mentioned JavaScript is like the heaviest part of the web. Like when you're deploying a website, like the large chunk of your performance bottleneck comes from JavaScript. So you're either adding a library, for example, add moment.js to like a library to what do you call it, to a web page, simply because you're trying to format web when there are other better frameworks, right? Imagine you adding, say, Azure's or any other frame or any other library for you to do uh, what do you call it, an API call when you can use fetch. So every other, if for example, if you're adding Azure's, you bring in Azure's and all other things that have to do with Azure's, even when it is minified or gzipped or like whatever you try to call it to such a way that you say, okay, it's compressed and minified and everything, it still have an additional overhead. But when you're using, for example, fetch, it's doesn't need you to add anything as a script tag to probably block your rendering and things like this. So using things that are native to the browser itself make it easier and faster than to use than to probably think of using adding another library. Yes, on some situations we do add libraries. Like I said, I use frameworks myself, but like not when I am building something, say somebody using React or probably using Vue or Angular to be able to build a to-do app. It actually doesn't serve the purpose, right? Um, so that's for performance. When people build apps on a normal day, when you're building a project, it is expected for you to have a performance budget and even a JavaScript budget. So, like for example, I'm building an app that is supposed that I've already set a bent a like a budget, a JavaScript budget for like say 20 kilobyte, right? And then you come and tell me, hey, can you add jQuery to this like framework to this web page? So jQuery itself is over 100 kilobyte. So why exactly am I adding an overhead when I can do what can be able to be achieved, right? Yes, vanilla doesn't give you those short probably you people usually shout that um yes, you always say JavaScript budget, but how about the fact that I need to be able to, if I need to do things multiple times, I'll have to rewrite the code. Nope. There are helper functions for this same reason. You can probably write a helper function in an extra file. So when I'm building an app, and I'm using vanilla JavaScript, I usually have a helper function file whereby I save any function that I know I'm going to be using multiple times across different pages. That way, that is the only page, that is the only HTML, or so that's the only JavaScript, extra JavaScript that I'll add to my script. So besides the one that is responsible for that same page. So at worst, have two linkage. So one is the JavaScript needed to run that page, and then the other one is the helper function. So it makes it easy for you to be able to like say if you're rendering, you probably you're probably displaying a table across multiple pages that have the same uh, that is expected to have the same look or probably have the same data row and field. So it's easier to just have write a helper function on the util page or probably or in the util JS page or probably in the index.js page, something your helper function page literally, so you can easily call them is well in every frame in every page. So you literally are building your micro framework or micro library within your app just for that purpose. So it makes it faster for you, as you don't need to uh, write more code when you're building this. People keep saying vanilla JavaScript means reinventing the wheel. Why will you reinvent something that has been written by Google, something that has been written by Facebook, Microsoft, Airbnb, or something that has been used by seasoned developers and like things like this? So it's vanilla JavaScript is actually not reinventing the wheel. It's you using part of the wheel. So like literally these things are already on the browser, You're just using what is already there. You're not adding something. You're not building something from afresh. So, for example, even when you decide to go and say, "Yes, I'm going to be able. I'm going to go and I'm using this framework to do this," right? For people saying, I'm not using even a framework. I'm using jQuery to be able to build, to be able to do say dollar, then the query the query what do you call it, the tag name. It's something that you can achieve with document or query selector. So you using that jQuery to do the dollar and calling the method still ends up in the background calling document or query selector or document or get element by ID or document dot get element by class name or by tag name, or just say it, right? So you're not reinventing the wheel. You're just using what is part of the app or part of the browser already to achieve what you're doing, right? Um, People shout, "Hey, you can't use vanilla for large scale application." So before 2013, what happened? Web apps not built. Before Polymer came and AngularJS came, React followed, Vue.js followed, and all the rest of the frameworks, were people dying? Were people not able to build that scale application? In the list of the top applications that are in the market at the moment, which of them was invented after 2014? Right? None of this. Yes, it is not going to be easy for large scale application. You possibly want to enjoy two-way binding, or you want to update say data from an API in real time without you re-rendering the page. It's still like, if you look at it this, like if you look at it critically, how many people are building apps on a scale of say Facebook, or you're building an app that is at the scale of say Airbnb? How many of you or how many of us are trying to build that at the moment? So it's a case of you're trying to over engineer your app when it's not even yet time. Last year, at a point, I think, I'm not sure if it is 2019 or 2018, GitHub removed the last part of jQuery from their app and moved to go vanilla. And one of what their engineers said is they noticed a rapid increase in load time. We're talking about GitHub here, and we're not. It's not like it's not. I'm not basically saying GitHub is not using any framework. So different depends on the page you're using. So if you're building an app, nowadays you see people building micro frameworks whereby somebody in the same app trying to use React.js, AngularJS, Vue.js for different scenarios and different places, right? It doesn't really it doesn't really change one thing. You can use vanilla JS for any scale of application. If there is a part of an app that relies on live data and different things, you can decide to plug in your framework. Most of these frameworks can be plugged in and not used completely. Besides, at the tail end, the whole of the framework you're using compiles back to vanilla JavaScript and then renders. So what exactly are you trying to run away? Do you mean probably Virtual DOM makes things different from where they're supposed to be? Or because the abstraction is meant in such a way that you don't even notice it, right? So it's one of those myths. So one of the reason one of the good things about using vanilla is the fact that you don't have no framework overhead. So imagine when you're probably trying to use either any of the frameworks, they have to tell you, yes, you need to add this, you need to add this library. For example, even if you're going to be using uh, say Vue will tell you need to add this tag, right? And or if you're using React, the same thing. Angular, the same thing. Some of them will even tell you need to add this and this and this and this. Like literally, large chunk of JavaScript needs to be added to your page, and then the large chunk means higher, like more time in uh, processing them and displaying them on a page, right? If you know how JavaScript renders page, or probably how JavaScript compiles just in time to be able to display, you definitely know that you having more JavaScript frameworks or JavaScript code on a page doesn't actually serve you well. Yeah, it probably simplifies what you're doing at the moment, but like it comes with a cost, and the cost is can often be like not necessarily all the time. Some frameworks have done well. For example, I can probably give a shout out to Gatsby, the fact that like um, it's compiled in such a way that like you still achieve really nice numbers when you audit your pages, right? But then yeah, one good thing about vanilla is no framework overhead. Nobody, you don't need to have additional JavaScript on your page. Another thing is vanilla is vanilla, right? Vanilla is native to the browser, so you don't need to do npm install. You don't need to be worried that I need to do like you're working on a project and then you're from Africa or possibly you're from Nigeria, and at worst you're from okay, not at worst. On a bad case scenario, you're from Lapai where you have to do npm install, and like, and you know how it takes. Like I think I've seen members of this group, of the JS Miner group, complain that I need time and I need internet to be able to do npm install, and it's taking forever. So when you're using vanilla JS, you don't need to do what do you call it? You don't need to worry about doing npm install. Yes, sometimes you need to add some libraries. Probably you're trying to use Gulp, you're trying to use Grunt and things like this, or to be able to probably either minify, uh, optimize some images and stuff like this. But on a normal day, like using vanilla helps you in such a way that you don't need to be worried about using any package manager to do anything. And yes, we have wide library support. Before anyone decided to come and write, what do you call it? Before somebody decided to come and write um, a library for, say, React, Angular, Vue, Polymer, Svelte, and the rest, vanilla was the first choice. So, like I saw yesterday, I saw a colleague, Jason, the what do you call it? The writer of Preact, the minimized version of React JS, was saying people kept shouting that when he writes a library in vanilla JavaScript, people keep asking him, why is it not in TypeScript, or why is it not typed? Why is it not in TypeScript? And then he keeps saying, look, I am not interested in the unnecessary overhead of adding types or probably TypeScript support to an app, which will means more lines of code or probably more characters on the page, which literally transfers to more compile time when I need to display. So like we have good library support. So if you're using if you want to use vanilla, go ahead and use your vanilla and forget about what different people are saying. Um, so I'm going to take 5 minutes to hear what do you think are the cons of using vanilla. So you mentioned, I try to explain the other way around of it. So if anyone wants to mention what are the cons, should probably either type and one of the organizers could probably read out, or you can just unmute yourself and talk. Remember, this is not a debate. I write all these frameworks, so I am still going to celebrate other frameworks once I'm done with my own. So I'm listening. If anyone has any cons he thinks that comes with writing vanilla. Well, if nobody asks or nobody posted anything, like it basically means vanilla doesn't have any cons. Like there's no downside to using vanilla. I know I mentioned some myself in like uh earlier, but like I'm listening. Did anybody type something? So I'm going to go back to this page and check and see if somebody asks any question. Um, Cons coding from scratch. Like, look, on a very honest note, there's nothing like coding from scratch or coding from using somebody. Reusing somebody's code doesn't change a thing. You think it's bad for you, but actually not bad for you. Like I mentioned, you're not actually coding from scratch. You're still writing the same code. You obviously you may be even writing less code using vanilla than you're writing with a framework, because like you need to import this, you need to be able to declare this before you be able to use this part of it. There's not enough time to code from scratch. Well, Is there anything like not enough time to code from scratch? Are you trying to run away? One thing I know that vanilla doesn't do well is the fact that um, we don't have a build tool in house. So probably some people want a structure to be enforced on them, and vanilla doesn't let you do that. You can probably put your file anywhere you want it, but then link it the right way it's supposed to be. So it depends on what feature you're trying to use, or probably what's your point exactly. But vanilla is actually not that really bad when you come into it. Depending on what features, even depending on what features you use, you might have to polyfill every browser you want support. Well, I think like literally this is easier. I don't think this is a problem with vanilla, except if you decide to probably say, if you're the type that will clearly go to this site, um, caniuse.com, and decide to, if you decide not to come here to check what do you call it, what method you're trying to use. For example, this is me here checking fetch, and then I'm checking to see, okay, support, what browser support it, what browser doesn't support it. So for example, Edge from 14 to 79 support it. Versions of Edge from 12 to 13 that are not supported, or probably Internet Explorer version 0. You see, it's just 2% global support. Yes, we will have to polyfill at some point in time for some features, but if you are conscious of what you're trying to use, if you're conscious of what libraries you're trying to use or what methods you're trying to use, you should be able to avoid needing to probably use polyfills. But if you're using shiny libraries that people are building every single day, need to um, you definitely need to polyfill. That's true, Ivan. Polyfilling is needed for some things. Homes only, custom CSS to handle mobile, tablet, and desktop. But that is not our fault. We're talking about vanilla JavaScript. If you decide to you use materialized CSS, or probably you decide to use Bootstrap and it's not supported in a framework, in a browser or things like this, is more of what do you call it, a HTML and CSS issue, not a JavaScript issue. Uh, Obina, um, a lot of time is spent on getting it right, frankly, because we spend a lot of time learning to use the tools. It's the Webpack, Babel, the list go on. A lot is required to build a full app. Yes, like I said earlier, it's very, very true. We don't have, unlike frameworks, or probably say, unlike Vue, React, Gatsby, Angular, who have CLIs, some of these tools that have CLIs that you just need to probably write, uh, say, create React, ask the create React app to be able to bootstrap something for you. In the case of vanilla, you need to probably set it up yourself, and then you need to probably understand what is Webpack, how to configure Webpack, how to configure Babel. Uh, Unfortunately, it is what we have come up to accept. Um, at a point in time, I used to know Angios Money build. I'm trying to remember the name of the library, like the tool for bootstrapping a vanilla JavaScript file. So I still can't remember. But all I know, what I do, if when I'm starting, is like I spent my time at a point in time to be able to build, what do you call it, to be able to build my own build tool, literally just for me to duplicate every single time and use for what project I'm trying to use. Uh, so yeah, if you're interested in probably starting to build your apps and don't want to probably uh, go the way of doing all the spins, then you definitely have to either use the bare bone without even doing any of the Webpack, Babel and stuffs. So you definitely have to be conscious of the versions of tools you're going to be using. So you're going to have to think of using either methods or libraries that have support for ES5, so pre ES6 frameworks. Okay. What about custom polyfills to handle inconsistent implementation of HTML5 video features? Yes, like I said, on some edge cases, when you're using some of the reset tools, you definitely need polyfill, but some of those don't necessarily need polyfill. So, except if you're trying to say you're going to be using React or Vue just because you don't want to polyfill HTML5 video features, it's more like you're using you're just adding unnecessary overhead for something that you can actually use. So like the polyfill for HTML5 video feature may possibly be smaller than the overhead of the library you're trying to use or the framework you're trying to use. Obina, don't worry, it's a national issue. Configuring Webpack is something that people should be able to add to their CV to be like, okay, one of my skills is I'm able to configure Webpack. Uh, Even direct DOM manipulation is expensive, I think it may be a reason that we will either build a custom framework or use an existing one. Yes, it's expensive, takes a lot of time. It depends on what do you call it, what library you're trying to, what tool you're trying to use, right? Um, on a normal day, if you are not building an app that like probably is supposed to reach many people, like so when people say, for example, it's easier for them to use uh, libraries just because you don't want to query the DOM, and they tell you document or query selector is slow. Guys, document or query selector is, yes, it's slow compared to even get element by ID, but then when we're talking of slow, we're talking about it being able to do these things 10,000 spins per second. Except if you expect to have 10,000 users to use your app. I know people will be like, you're just hoping, you're trying to start building, but you're hoping you're going to have this number of people to use your platform. But unless you're sure, and who said you cannot progressively change this part? Like I said earlier, if you're going to use a part that is probably heavy, that you know will definitely have more users, you definitely should be able to plug in your framework. Almost all of these frameworks can be added to like a single page, not to be used as a total uh, for the total application. So imagine what you want to use, and if this page say many times during the days of jQuery, and I know I have to use a table that will probably need pagination, I know I need to use data table, right? So jQuery data table is what I plug in, but I don't plug it to the whole of the project. I only plug it to the page that I need to use what do you call it, the page I need to use the data table in. So you can do the same thing. I have there was a day I was building an app like a few, I think like that was like 2 months ago, and then I needed a start to build a static page for say privacy policies, terms and condition, and I knew I could have written I was writing this app in React, honestly, but I knew it was of no use for me to use that part for React. So I had to just plug in what do you call it? Plug in Gatsby in just that section of the app. Just so like okay, I needed something fast for that purpose, and then I know I didn't have any manipulation to do, so I didn't have to use React for that part because it's like unnecessary. So just to give you an example that you can always plug libraries or probably frameworks on a specific page if the purpose of that page may be defeated if you're using what do you call it, if you're using vanilla. Let me see. Shadow DOMs are okay, right? If that is what you're trying to like, shadow DOMs are really okay for what you want to do. But like I said, it's really not compulsory, and most of the times people decide to go and use decide to go and use what do you call it, frameworks to build things like a to-do app or probably a landing page that doesn't have any most manipulations on it. So somebody just decide because I'm going to build an app with JavaScript, and then instead of going vanilla to probably do some things that are not really that intensive, but then they decide to just go and use frameworks like for no obvious reason. um yeah, I think I'm almost done with my time. So if you're here and you're still wondering what is vanilla JavaScript, or what is this vanilla JavaScript term, so it's basically you using native JavaScript, and depending on browser's API instead of frameworks and libraries, right? So it's not like vanilla JavaScript is not a framework. In all honesty, it's just me telling you use native JavaScript as a choice. So it depends on what you're using. And like I said earlier, I use almost all of these library, all the libraries that are going to be presented today. I still use them. Like I use all of the frameworks for different things, and like depends on what I'm trying to do and what tool I think will serve the purpose for what I'm doing. Um, so before I say thank you and say goodbye, read the last line there. Um, so there's only one framework, which is vanilla JavaScript. Every other thing is just a plugin of ours. So everyone is just building on top of ours. So we're the main framework. Every other person is just a plugin. So thank you very much for listening. Um, I could answer a few questions after the session, after all the presenters are done. If you have any question that you want to ask, or if you want us to discuss more.
Okay. Thank you very much, Awal, for your session. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can ask on the comment section, or you can go on Twitter with the hashtag JSMina Hangout. Anyone. So the next um the next session on our schedule is by Mark Bex. Okay, Mark Bex is okay.
Hello.
Mark Bex is a full stack developer living in Luxembourg, right in the heart of Europe. He mostly works with JavaScript, Node.js, and Vue.js, and he has experience working with Ruby on Rails, PHP, and others. So he's going to be discussing Vue.js. He's going to tell us why we should pick Vue.js, what are the strengths we need to pick Vue.js, and why we should pick it, and how we can actually get started with it. Hello, Mike.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for the
Okay.
introduction,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
also for the organizers to invite me. I'm happy to be here. Also, thanks to Awal for the great explanation of Vanilla.js. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to prepare a PowerPoint, but I will just um, talk freely. I don't have didn't have too much time to prepare. Well, shortly to myself. Well, my name is Mark. I am 33 years old and I work as a freelance developer based in Luxembourg. I'm currently working on on a larger scale projects for a company in Germany, which will be used with by well by a majority of the banks there. So it's a pretty large thing that has to work well. So and that I'm doing with Vue.js. So that's why I talk to you about Vue.js. Um, I started learning to code like 16 years ago in high school. And since then, I programmed in almost anything possible, mostly academic though. So Pascal, Delphi, Assembler, C++, Java, Swift, Ruby on Rails, jQuery, and so on. Yes, Geekbot, 16 years since 2004. But professionally, I have been working since 2012, so 8 years. And then I started with Ruby on Rails. And just for a little over a year now, I work intensively with Vue.js and Node.js. So I don't have that many years of experience, but I've been using it extensively over the last year. And Vue.js is a topic I'm really excited about because it's quite easy to get started, and I really like I like the developer experience of it. And I absolutely agree with Awal. You absolutely need to know vanilla JavaScript before you learn any framework, Vue.js or otherwise. So it's a mistake that many developers do. They see that, for example, there are so many high paid React jobs everywhere, or Vue.js jobs everywhere, and they want to learn that immediately. without learning the basics first, and then it seems complicated because there are always vanilla stuff that's going on under the hood, because as he said, it's all just a plugin of vanilla JavaScript. So what is Vue.js? So it was developed like 7 years ago, was the first commit to GitHub on the project. And it was first released in 2014. So that's only 6 years ago. And compared to other frameworks, for example, like React is maintained and developed by Facebook, Vue was developed by a single person, by one developer called Evan You. And now it depends on the community to be developed furthermore. Yes, Evan You was a former employee of Google, and he was on the Angular team, and he found that there were things that he could do better than Angular or Ember or React, and he decided to create his own framework. And at the beginning, it was a side project, and after it picked up in the developer community, after a while, he was able to do it full time because he had enough of donations. So he made that his main job. Yeah. So what is Vue? It's basically a library that a library for the Vue layer. So everything we see on the website, right? It works with a virtual DOM, with a virtual DOM, which makes it cheap to manipulate. Let's say you want to change some data in the website, and if you go ahead and you just change them with vanilla JavaScript and so on, it will cost you a lot of time and processing power. And if you do it a lot, your website gets slow. What Vue and also React and other frameworks do is they make a copy of the DOM called virtual DOM in a JavaScript form, which is a lot easier to manipulate. And these frameworks only render what is really changed. So not the whole page is reloaded or something or re-rendered, but only some little parts of the application that actually needs re-rendering. For example, if you add an item to your shopping cart, you only need to update everything that has to do with the shopping cart, and the rest just stay the same. Vue it allows components just as React, which is nice because you have the separation of concern. So you can develop little modules. They don't have too much to do with each other, but so it's easy for different developers or many developers to find their way in the application. So it's not one huge JavaScript file or different things. So it's all, for example, let's take the shopping cart. There's everything about the shopping cart could be in one component, which includes the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript. It's all in one component, in one file, and you find it. You would find it easy to find an error if there's in one component an error, because you have all the code into just one single file. But Vue can be used in an existing project already. So if you have a project that is, for example, using jQuery and or maybe vanilla JavaScript, and you have one component which you would like to develop in Vue.js, that you can do that. You can just add the Vue library to your project, and you can write for one small part of the application or various smaller parts of the application Vue.js code, which is really nice because other frameworks can't do that easily. You can't do that so easily with React, for example. So you don't always need an entire new all Vue application or a compiled application to work with Vue. So you can get started by just adding it to your project, do some little things, and go from there. Well, as I said, the syntax, it's easier than with other frameworks, which makes it more popular with beginners. So it's all it's CSS template, HTML template. So in React, for example, you have this thing that's called JSX, which is basically in React everything is JavaScript, even the HTML is JavaScript. So you have HTML in JavaScript instead of JavaScript in HTML. So, which is not a problem because it works well, but for beginners, I think it's more intuitive to work with HTML templates, especially because you have everything right there in one single file, the HTML, JS, and CSS in one component, which makes it easier to work with it, especially in a team. Well, compared to other frameworks, it's easier to learn. Also, in the state of JavaScript 2008 and 2009, 2018 and 2019, developers found that Vue.js, the learning curve for Vue.js was way better than, for example, React. So if someone would ask, what framework would you suggest to learn first, I would say go with Vue, because generally it's accepted as an easy to learn framework or library. But it's always about what did I want to say? It's always about personal taste, right? So if you love that you can write HTML inside JavaScript, you love that idea, then maybe React would be better for you. But as a total beginner thing, I think Vue is a great way to get started. Assuming you know your basics, assuming you know vanilla JavaScript first. One thing, though, that is a con of Vue is that the market is not that developed for Vue developers, which is a huge downside for some people who want to learn something to get really a job in the field. So the problem is a lot of companies put a lot of trust in React because it's built and maintained by Facebook, like a huge company. They have like all the resources necessary, monetary and developers, to maintain it. And Vue is maintained by Avenue and the community. So if people in the community lose interest in the project dies. So many companies bet more on React because it's stabler or more future oriented than Vue. But I think that's a misconception from some companies, because I have been to the Vue.js event in Amsterdam this year. It's, I think, the biggest one worldwide. And I saw that the developer community is all in on this Vue thing. So the core team of Vue is currently developing version 3. Like a couple of days ago, I think 2 days ago or 1 day ago, they released the beta version of version 3. And so Vue has also this huge ecosystem, right? There are libraries that are like best used for anything. There's like Bootstrap for Vue, there is form validation, there is unit testing, etc. Everything for Vue, and all of these tools go along with the new features and the new standards that Vue 3 is implementing. So I saw some of the talks were about what changes are they making on their plugin or on their tool for Vue.js now that the version changes, and there were some complete rewrites of the code. So they threw everything away or most of the code away just to comply with the new standards of or the new features of Vue 3, which is it's like a huge investment in time and money to do something like that. So the energy is definitely there, and with the new version of Vue, I definitely see that like the developer community will grow in Vue, and eventually there will be more jobs because of it. But at the moment, the huge downside of Vue is that there are not as many jobs as, for example, Angular or React. Let's talk about some things I love about Vue. It has an easy learning curve, so it's pretty easy to get started. It has an elegant programming style and patterns. It's nicely to program. It's nicely to read. It's nicely to maintain to get other developers on board. It has a pretty nice documentation, and the community, as I said, it's amazing. And people are. I met some of the core team members and also Evan knew himself personally. They are also down to earth, and when you talk with them about what they do in Vue.js, they are also passionate about it, which is something I really love. It's fun developing in Vue. It's because everything is quick. It looks nice. It looks clean. Everything is where it should be, according to myself. Yeah, it's great for building quick, minimal viable products. So you can really quickly develop an MVP, show it to like an investor or something if you're building a startup. And but which doesn't mean that you cannot build large scale web applications. This is, I think, a misconception of some people, that they think, oh yeah, Vue is to play around a little bit, is to make an MVP, and yeah, that's about it. But that's a misconception. The project I work on now, it's Node.js as a backend and Vue.js as a front end. And this is a large application. I don't know how many lines of code does it have. I want to know. Hold on one second. I will see if I can tell you how many lines of code does it have. I don't remember the command for the lines of code. Well, okay, doesn't matter. But it has, I think, around 10,000 lines of code. Question: is Node.js used for front? Node.js used for front end? No, Node.js is used for backend. What was I talking about? It can be used to build large scale web applications. The application I work on right now will be used within the next couple of months by the biggest bank in Germany and one quarter of their branches, so that there are like around 2,000 people using it. Well, no, not 2,000 people, 2,000 operators, bank operators using it with tens of thousands of clients. And it's all coded in Vue.js. And I think it will work fine. We made some tests with larger groups, and it seems to be nicely working. So yeah, I love how Vue is or can be used in large teams, which is a big advantage in comparison to vanilla JavaScript. So in Vue or other frameworks, you know where everything is supposed to go. So like the routers go here, the views go there, the components go there, and everything within a component, it's always the same. It's not rocket science. You have your HTML template, your JavaScript, and your CSS, and that's about it. There's not much more to know about it. So it's easy to maintain with a bigger team, even though the team I'm working with is quite small. We are 5 people, but it works very well. So why should you use Vue or versus React? Again, in my honest opinion, at the end of the day, it's about personal preference, really. There's not too much of a performance differences. They have similar performance and everything. So, and then it even depends on the optimization by the developer. So you can make something in React really performant or something in Vue.js really performant if the developer takes necessary steps. But in preference, like I love Vue.js because it's clean, simple, etc. Everything I told you before. But if you try Vue.js and you're like, nah, this is nothing for me, I better stick to React because I love JSX, for example. You can do that. Well, there's also JSX support for Vue, but it's not by default. Yeah, it's generally if you choose between Vue, React, or Angular, I think just make a very little project or a crash course with all of them and choose the one you feel more comfortable with. I don't have a huge argument to say you should use Vue because of this, except the learning curve. The learning curve is superb or better than React, but for the rest, they work differently, but none is really more superior to the other. It really depends on what you need. So if you need to have a high-paid job, you probably are better to go with React. But if you want to play around, or if you want to build something quick, if you want to learn something that you see fast results, you learn Vue.js. What else did I want to talk about? I quickly talked about Vue 3 before. So I can tell you some things that will change there. I don't know if how far you need to be in the ecosystem to know what's going on, but basically they made it more performant. They made the renderer more performant. They rewrote the renderer from scratch, which is pretty cool. And I think most of the compiler as well. It will have full TypeScript support, which is well, nice for TypeScript developers. I haven't played around with TypeScript too much, so I can't say too much about it. But I can tell you that the whole ecosystem, everything around Vue.js, all these tools around it, they are all making huge rewrites in their code to support this TypeScript, native TypeScript support. Composition API. Oh yeah, that's something I wanted to talk to you about before I come to this. Yeah, Vue is inspired on React and Angular and Ember, etc. So Avenue wanted to build something that has the best of all of these things. So it's inspired on all of those, and more importantly, it keeps inspiring on other frameworks and libraries. So, for example, another feature in Vue 3 is called Composition API, which is inspired on the React hooks, which was a huge success. So it's you could say Vue is stealing the ideas of React. Well, is that a bad thing? I mean, if people like developing in such a way, I don't think it's a bad thing if you inspire your own framework on it. But that's my opinion. Maybe there are others. Other things that are added in Vue are, for example, there are something that's called portals. I'm really excited about. So you can have a component and you can teleport it to anywhere in your DOM. So you can say, I have this part of the component here, but I will render it completely somewhere else, which is, for example, very nice for models and etc. But I won't get more into details or technical details with Vue.js. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I think also my time is running out soon. Are there any more questions? You can open your mic, unmute your mic to ask questions, or is this tool slide?
Yeah, Emma, I asked a question earlier on the chat. I don't know if you saw it. Will you call Vue a library framework?
That's a good question, because I don't know what's the difference between a library and a framework. It's the ever-ending discussion, like React is a framework, Vue is not a framework, Vue is a library. I can't tell you. I think officially they call themselves a library, and others call it framework. I think it's a library, pretty solid, but I don't know. I can't answer you more than that.
All right, thank you very much.
So do you have any other questions? If you have any other questions, ask.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you very well. Can you repeat that?
No, I'm saying if people have other questions, they can ask.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So in case you are confused about library and a framework, Obin, I just dropped a link. I can just check out the difference between a library and a framework on the comment section. So check.
Hello.
Hi. Okay.
Okay, so I've been taking a course on the good parts and bad parts of JavaScript lately. So I'd like to know if any of these frameworks, have additional features that can stand out or can be said to help you manipulate those bad parts, so to speak. Thank you.
I have trouble understanding you. Can you maybe write it? What are the bad parts of Vue.js? That's your question?
Okay, I'll just write it in the comments so that you can read it from there.
Okay, that was better. Thanks.
So your question, was that you, Akin? The bad parts of Vue.js?
No, he said he's going to type it in the comment section, so you.
Okay. Well, okay. There's another question. What are the bad parts? Well, the bad part is that you need Well, no, actually, you don't need. If you develop a whole view only single page web application, then you need all the tools around it, like uh, the Webpack or the view CLI, etc. But yeah, that was going to be my point. You need some more tools, but which is not exactly true because you can add Vue just to any existing project. So um, yeah, the bad thing, yeah, I can't tell you about something like in like a complete something I'd say that's bad about Vue, not from my perspective at least. Hello.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. I think we can move to the next session now. But if you have any other question, you can still ask under the comment section. So next, our next section is going to be on React JS, and this session will be handled by Bami Ogunfemi. I hope I pronounced that right. So Bami, please let's have you. Hello, Bami, are you on the call? Okay, let me reach out to her. Uh,
Okay, so Tamilore, so I'm seeing your question. Yeah, you're talking about the bad parts of JavaScript. So personally, I would say these frameworks are built on JavaScript. Yeah, so if there's a bad part of the language itself, these frameworks can only go a long way in trying to fix it. They can't actually do much about it except they're writing their own language. All right, so that's just my opinion. Maybe others could help shed more light on it.
I think everyone can see your slide, but then we can't hear you. Hello, Bami, are you here? Wait, let me reach out to her.
Bami, are you still using Glue? Can you please use a better network?
Glue, glue, glue. Auntie, you shouldn't be using glue now. Where is yourself?
Hey, Glow users.
Uh,
Geek, that was very, very, very rude of you. I'm using Glow, so my network is okay.
Bakar, maybe we can move on to the next topic before Dami is able to rectify her issue. Then we can get back to her later.
okay, okay. The way we schedule the sessions are more like okay. We intentionally scheduled reactive before Gatsby, but then since she's having issues with our network, let's have Gatsby first, and then we'll have React later. So Uncle Obina, if you're on the call, please can we have your session?
Oh, for sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
You're not using glue.
Let me share my screen. Give me a minute. Okay. Hmm. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Awesome. All right, so we're ready. Yes? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. So I'm happy to be here, everyone. And yeah, shout out to the organizers for doing this on JavaScript. So I'm going to start and let's just get right into it. So trying to pick a framework for JavaScript is kind of like trying to pick a place to get dinner. So it's always a recurring question. If I say so, it would be a recursion. So you always have the I don't know what to pick. What if this works well? I don't know what to pick. What if this works better? All of that. And the funny thing is that there's JavaScript everywhere. So JavaScript for the web, JavaScript for machines, JavaScript for IoT. But the good thing is also that it is all just JavaScript. And mostly, JavaScript developers behave like the kid from the Pennywise movie, where someone tells you there's a new framework, and then everybody just wants to jump down the rabbit hole without asking the important question of why. Yeah? Yeah. Hello? Still with me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Cool, cool. Of why. So why is the most important question. So why is like why am I picking this framework? What am I trying to do? What do I need to achieve? Am I building for myself? Am I building for an enterprise? Do I need to think of scalability? But the good thing, as I said before, is that it all boils down to JavaScript. So vanilla is always the way to go first. So now let's talk about the power of Gatsby. And yeah, somebody said Gatsby. Yeah, it's pronounced Gatsby, like from the movie The Great Gatsby, but like Gatsby JS. Let's get the boring stuff out of the way. My name is Obina Ekuno. You can see me on Twitter as Obina Speaks. Mostly tweet about random stuff, accessibility, Gatsby, obviously. I'm a software engineer at Gatsby, a media developer expert for Cognary. I write a bunch of technical articles on anybody that would allow me to put up my articles on their blog. My friends call me an accessibility nuisance because I preach a lot about making the web accessible for all. This is the start of everything. So every great idea is born out of a problem. And you need to ask yourself, what are the problems of the modern web development? Yeah. So you have getting started is always overwhelming. So for example, you're learning, like somebody said, they're learning the good parts of JavaScript, and then you're asking what's next for me to do is React. I always started React, so now that I have Vue is better. Is it always so? Getting started is always overwhelming. There's a lot of information out there, and you need to see that. Methods of handling data is always evolving very fast. So you have people moving from let me serve my information through MDX or use Markdown, or okay, I will get it from the back end, or somebody will come out and say CMS. The first time I heard the CMS, I wasn't really sure what it was. So it gets really hard to get it right the first time. And this is a very big problem because you have people eager to learn, but they don't know where to start. And then that's a very big problem. So what is Gatsby JS? Most people come across Gatsby. The first experience would be building blogs and all of that on Twitter or whatever, and then you would say, "Oh, Gatsby is a static site generator for building blogs." That's just what it is. But yes, but actually no. So I want you all to this is like the most important part of the talk. Gatsby is not just a static site generator. So what's a static site generator in the sense of static? It serves static HTML to the browser that eventually turns to React applications. That's what Gatsby does. So Gatsby uses the React hydration API to send. So what you do, what you deliver to the browser is static files. That's why it's really fast. But when it gets to when it hits the browser, it turns into a React application. That is very important to note, because then you would see that whatever it is you can do with React, you can do it with Gatsby or faster. So why Gatsby? There's a bunch of reasons, but let's start with the great plugin ecosystem. So Gatsby gives you the most minimal tools that you need to build whatever it is you're trying to build for the web. So all you have to do is there's a bunch of starters. All you have to do is you can get started with just npm install whatever starter you're trying to do, and then you start building. And you would say, oh, I'm using npm, there's a lot of like performance, whatever, there's like a lot of things to do. But the truth is, once you do that one command, you get performance out of the box, you get a bunch of other things, you get a great plugin ecosystem. Like I had a conversation yesterday with someone saying, oh, they would like to write TypeScript in Gatsby, but then there's no TypeScript support for it. I'm like, yes, because we try to equip people with the barest minimum that they need to create very fast and very performant applications. So whatever it is you need to add, all you need to do is, there's a plugin for it. Are you trying to save data from a CMS? There's a plugin for it. Add authentication to your site. There's a plugin for it. And there are also very other amazing features out of the box, like I mentioned, performance. So Gatsby implements the PRPL principle for performance, which I will explain what that is. So you push initial routes. It's a performance pattern by Google that helps you to like optimize pages, and Gatsby does this for you out of the box, so you don't need to think about how to do that. So you push initial routes, you render those routes, pre-cache every other thing that might not be needed at the time, and then lazy load all your images. So that's even saying it sounds like, okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push all the routes I think the user is going to see. I'm going to click on the first time, and then I'm going to render those routes. And then while the user is interacting, whatever it is they're interacting with, I'm going to get all of the other things that I think they're going to do. Yeah? And it helps you to use GraphQL at build time. And the biggest misconception is, okay, because Gatsby works with React and GraphQL, I need to go and learn GraphQL. But you don't exactly need to learn GraphQL, because everything is abstracted for you. And I know that people would argue that abstractions are really bad, but the thing is, it helps you build faster, and Gatsby is optimized out of the box. I'm talking 100% on almost everything on Lighthouse. Go and check the statistics. So you have it generates only static sites assets. So basically, everything you have in your application is bundled into static sites and served to the browser, and then rehydrated there into a React application. And also normalizes third-party data, so you can pull data from anywhere. But what we have something we call a content mesh, so you can pull data from your CMS, you can pull data from JSON, you can pull data from Markdown, all in the same site. So you don't necessarily have to move data around. You could just you can pull whatever you want anywhere and then link it to your Gatsby site, and it'll still be fast. So what Gatsby does basically is that it creates a bridge between the problem of people getting it right the first time, starting off not understanding what all these large concepts are like. Like I said, configuring Webpack gives me nightmares. I can't even lie. And then learning GraphQL, learning when to use Babel, learning how to SSH into a server to do this. No, Gatsby takes all of those problems, solves it for you, and provides you a solution. And hello? Hello?
We can hear you, sir.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we can hear you.
So as you grow, as your application scales, Gatsby also provides you with APIs to scale with you. So you might wonder, okay, cool. So you get the problem with one-off solutions is that I give you all the solutions and I say, oh, look, depart from me, and then there will be no peace for you, because the moment you try to step out of the solution I've given you, you run into problems. But with Gatsby, you have all of those solutions provided for you. And if you want to increase, like for example, you want to add some Webpack configurations that don't come default to your application, you can just plug out that exact pack that you want and then just interact with an API that talks to Webpack for you, and then that's it. So you keep scaling. So Gatsby builds super fast static sites. Yeah. So I want everyone to leave. Like I said, this is the most important part of my talk. So static, in the sense of the only thing static about Gatsby is that it generates static files that serves to your browser. You can build dynamic apps with Gatsby. You can set up authentication. You can set up an e-commerce store with any API. You can set up whatever it is you want. Anything you can do with a React application, you can do with Gatsby. But wait, there's more. Gatsby Cloud. So what Gatsby Cloud does for you is, because we're trying to become the default way of building for the web and abstract a lot of headache for people that are non-technical and people coming from backgrounds where they don't have so much code knowledge, but they want to build, we've created Gatsby Cloud. And what Gatsby Cloud does is, it gives you a quick start. You can create a platform and connect to a CMS by merely just clicking and accept. I mean, like just literally just clicking and accepting, choosing what you want to do. And it sets up all of that for you, and you can just go straight to writing. You have real-time preview. For example, if you're working in a team that has content creators, marketing manager, developers, all of that, you don't need to say, oh, look, I've published this, go and check it out. And then before your application is live, there's a lot of, when your application is live, there's a lot of, oh, this is not what I wanted, this is not what I wanted. So it comes with real-time preview. So you can actually build a preview of your site and still have another version live, so that you have all of that in check. It comes with a lot of CMS integrations. So all you have to do is just click, and then you have connection to all the CMSs that you want. Gatsby recipes is also a very important and very, like, it's something that's very close to my heart right now, because Gatsby has a bunch of recipes that helps you to add additional features to your sites. So what is a recipe? Like if you want to make jollof rice, for example, you have, add this, add that, add all of that, and then you have to add them by yourself. But now Gatsby comes with a cool command. If you run Gatsby recipes, whatever it is you want. For example, let me use the TypeScript because this is the most recent conversation I've had. If you run Gatsby recipes TypeScript, it helps you it shows you the steps to initialize TypeScript, and all you have to do is click enter, and it installs all the dependencies for you, and then you have TypeScript set up already. Now you would wonder, does this make, and this is what the recipe kind of looks like. So it's like a mixed thing. So you would wonder, what cost does this have on my performance on my application? It really doesn't have any cost, because Gatsby abstracts a lot of things and then also keeps performance and accessibility at the heart of it. So you really don't run into any problems. So Gatsby is just a React. Gatsby is just React, but on steroids with less headache. So remember that we literally have a sticker that says my website is faster than yours. We'll always keep performance and accessibility at the core of what we're doing. So just remember that if you can do this in React, I was really hoping Bami gave the talk before me because she would have this would have been this would have been clearer. If you can do whatever in React, then you can do it in Gatsby. May the force be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Please, questions, please.
Yeah,
Under the
please
claimant.
ask me questions. Oh, Obina is speaking. Oh wow.
I was said faster React.
Yeah, it's React on steroids.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, Obina. I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how GridSum is to Vue? Is that how Gatsby is to React?
So mostly when people draw Gatsby comparisons, they want to say this is to this as this is to that. Yeah, that's like a good way to do a comparison. But the truth is, when you compare GridSum to what GridSum is to Vue, as what Gatsby is to React. So GridSum is basically a static site generator. That's what it does. It doesn't have like some of these extra features that I have mentioned. So I would say yes, in a way, GridSum is to Vue what Gatsby Plus is to React. So Gatsby offers you what GridSum is to Vue, but then has extra features.
Oh, all right. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. And any more questions?
Yeah, I think
Oh.
Geekbot is asking a question.
Yeah, I'm looking through the chat, trying to find. Oh, how can I use Gatsby with the CMS? So ultimately, you can set up a CMS, yeah. Like for example, if you're using Dato CMS, and then you've logged into your CMS, you've set up your data and everything. To link that to your Gatsby site, all you would need is a what's it called? Your API key, all the secret keys, link that, and then set up your Gatsby site. Maybe in the next version of this, I can do a demo of how to set up a CMS with Gatsby, and then we'll start blogging. I would really love to do a live demo now, but
because of the time, this is more like an introductory session. So we'll be having a session where we'll do a practical guide on how to get started soon. So you can don't worry, we'll do a session on live demo soon. So any other questions?
No worries.
Yeah, there's one more question, I think.
Where?
Yeah, Mark, he said, what's your preferred
REST
way to
API
deploy apps?
Oh, Netlify. Mostly, I use Netlify to deploy a Gatsby application. Cause like Netlify is really cool. Yes, Netlify always. It's awesome. It's a other ways to deploy especially when you're using Gatsby Cloud is you can use what's it called? Let me see. Fastly. And there are other options to like deploy your Gatsby application. But yeah, I use Netlify. REST API, maybe we could do a session on getting Gatsby WordPress. Oh yeah, for sure. Gatsby WordPress is cool. You can use WordPress as your headless CMS, which is really cool. Firebase. Yes, you can deploy a Gatsby site to Firebase. It's also a very neat tool. But I prefer Netlify because the way the web is moving, we're trying to make people not think too much about the processes and just do what they want to do. So yeah, there's a bunch of other cool stuff coming from Gatsby next week, but I'm not allowed to say so much about that.
We understand. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for being here with us today and for sharing with us. Thank you very much. So let's move on quickly because of time.
So before you go, can you very briefly talk about Gatsby and accessibility? Just a little. Thank you.
Okay, so with Gatsby, like I said, it shifts accessibility out of the box. A quick example would be using link, the link component of Gatsby. We recently shipped something that helps you announce live links when you're using like a screen reader. So it might sound like something that is just like, oh, cool, so I can announce links. So imagine you have to navigate a website blind, yeah, and then you have like what's it called? You're switching links, and then you don't really know where you are, but you're just tapping through, and you're hoping that the voice reader will tell you where exactly you are in the page. So Gatsby comes in with like a lot of like optimization for accessibility. I could link a proper detailed article on in the chat so that you can check it out. But yes, like we take accessibility really seriously. There's a whole team set up to make sure that whatever sites, because the future of the web is a web for everybody. So we're really trying to make sure that everybody is able to get the web. So
Okay.
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, yes, thank you.
All right.
So thank you very
All
much.
right. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bami, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on quickly. Um,
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
we can hear you. We
Yes,
can hear you.
finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I'm
switched
actually
to empty, so
using a phone and I'm presenting with my system because I'm assuming my system is the problem here.
okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, please. Thank you very much.
So confirmation. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
No, we can't hear you, but we heard it.
Okay. Guess we can start. Okay. I'm assuming everyone can hear me, so I'm just going to dive right in. So yeah, welcome. And in this talk, I'm going to be sharing with you why you should choose React as your front-end superhero. So Mark has spoken and Obina has obviously done the work of React more than I probably would be able to, but then I'm still going to try and reach their level, sure. So yeah, my name is Bami Ogunfemi and I am a front-end engineer and JavaScript first daughter. Sure. I'm a JavaScript fangirl and yeah. So yeah, let's start. So there is a lot of before we get into what React actually is, how awesome it is, all those story. I want to talk to you about what React is not. And I call them lies that you've probably heard about React or misconceptions actually. And we've heard it every time. We used to hear it. React is a framework. React is not a framework, please. This is like the greatest lie out there. Like it is the greatest one. React is not a framework. Mark spoke about the thin line between a framework and library, and Obina shared some slides. But according to the React docs, React is not a framework. It is a library. And you would notice that although this webinar is called choosing your React framework, your front-end framework, actually, I told you that my talk is choosing your front-end superhero because basically mostly every other thing is a framework but React. So yeah. So React is a UI rendering library, and I would actually expand more on that as we go on. So yeah. The thing is, another lie is React lacks proper state management. So this is a myth that should totally be debunked. And you hear it all the time that React lacks proper state management, and you have to rely on third-party libraries like Redux or Mobex to deal with that. But the thing is, with the advent of React 16.3, we had Context API being baked into React. And what this meant was that you no longer had to depend on external libraries to manage the global application states of the React app. And another thing is that you don't even have to resort to pop drilling. You don't have to have this whole passing your pubs down, which you call pubs drilling in React. And thing is, I for one, I'm not a fan of context API. I prefer React, but then it is awesome to know that it is baked right into React and you can use it out of the box. Another thing, yeah, is that you can use React as a standalone to build your full web app. So the thing is, React is a front-end library. It is not your full stack tool to build all you want. This is just front-end. So yeah. Now, what is React? React is a user interface or view layer library, and it is developed and maintained by Facebook. So Facebook develops React and it maintains it really, really well. And they even use it in production. So it's awesome to see that React has gotten to like this high stage, really. And because they use it in production, it just goes to show us how reliable React is and how much they keep working on it. So yeah, another thing, it is open sourced. We all know that the future is driving towards this open source point, and it is awesome to know that React is following that same path. Hey God, I'm thinking you guys are not hearing me. Let me confirm if you're hearing me.
We're hearing you.
Okay. Okay, I'm not fighting. I'm sorry. I would reduce my voice. Okay. Yeah. Back to the presentation. I said it's open source, and yeah, that's another awesome thing about React. So yeah. Why React? It's time for me to sell my pitch. Let me pitch my love to you guys. So let's get at it. Why should React be your superhero of choice? React is easy to learn. This is a relative kind of term. Yeah, relative subjects, but then a bit. Some people believe it's easy, some people don't believe it's easy. So the thing is, I for one started JavaScript. I got to DOM manipulation. I didn't reach OOP. I catapulted myself to React, and I ran back. So it took me a while to realize that the terms that sent me back were not React terms. They were not React. It wasn't React that was sending me back. It was the JavaScript that I did not understand. So that's another reason why I would help people to really solidify their JavaScript before dropping into a framework or a library. So yeah, React is extremely easy to learn. It uses JSX, and this is like very, very similar to HTML, and also similar to JavaScript. So React is kind of just plain JavaScript. So it's like when you understand your JavaScript, you understand your React. So that's what I mean by it's easy to learn. And as I said, there is a popular saying that React makes you better at JS, and that is extremely, totally true in my case. Yep. So like, if you are looking for an easy to learn superhero to help you build out the front end application of your dream, yeah, or your dream app, anyhow, React is the one for you. So yeah, faster development. So React is fast, but we know that the Vue DOM is sort of slow. So the thing is, React uses virtual DOM. I'm still going to talk about these terms kind of later on. But React uses virtual DOM, and this enables fast batch updates to Vue DOM, and it is extra productivity on your side because instead of re-rendering the DOM tree whenever you have like this little change, it has this awesome algo. Like I don't know how they do it, but it's super awesome. They have this thing where they kind of they calculate like they find the simplest, easiest, like least stressful way to like to update a particular to update the DOM without like exactly having to re-render everything, and that's expenses being cut down. Component based. This has got to be one of my favorite things about React. So we know that components, or we might not know, but components divide and interface into like smaller and autonomous blocks, and this conquer maintainability and scalability. And the best thing about them is that they are reusable. So you can reuse a component in different parts of the app. You can easily test it. Testing is so much easier, and it is better to maintain. Like it is. So the thing is, when you make like a change to like just a component, instead of it to go and like start updating. Like remember that time we used to write HTML now, like pure HTML. I'm sorry, when you have your whole pure HTML, CSS, and then you have 7 pages with header. So you think to yourself, okay, I don't like the product starting with small p, I want to start with big P in your navbar, and you go and you change it on your about page, on your index page, on your contact page, on your. The thing is that you have components, and this component, when you update just one, you have just the main component now. So when I change the small p to like a capital P, it updates everywhere, and that saves time. So amazing resources. See, there are 1,007 amazing resources out there. It's not like I counted them, but then 7 is my favorite number. So yeah, and it is just like awesome and mind blowing, the amount of like there are crazy content out there. If it's Screenbar, if you want interactive, there's really amazing React course on Screenbar. There are amazing articles. There are awesome videos. See, there is no reason for you not to learn this amazing superhero. Then this is the full power of JS. I think I've mentioned this earlier. It is basically JS now. It is JS. Yeah, no complex two-way data flow. So React uses one-way reactive data flow, and it is easier to understand than the two-way bindings. And this is basically less code. High performance. So React was designed with high performance in mind, and the library's core features, such as the virtual DOM, which I spoke about, and the server-side rendering, allows you to create large-scale apps that are really, really fast. And performance, I spoke about being fast earlier. Yes, the React dev tools. See, these God-sent tools are amazing because there is no way you won't get stuck or get blocked. And this really helped with debugging. They make debugging so easier. So much easier. So much easier. Sorry. So yeah, React has an open and rich toolset. And yeah, being an open source technology, React is free and open for all. And it has this really rich ecosystem that has must have tools like Redux. I said I use Redux a lot, and there are like a large number of task specific open source libraries that listen on npm. So like there's basically a library that does anything you want to do in React. And I remember I was really excited yesterday or the day before yesterday, because I'm working on something, and I'm using React. It's a React app that uses Redux for state management and Firebase for authentication and storage and everything. So a friend was like, oh, I should use React, Redux, Firebase. And I was like, what is that? God have mercy. That thing is heavenly. I've been wanting to ask you about it. It is such an heavenly tool. It's like, I can see, I will share the docs with it. It is heavenly. It saves so much time. And it is awesome that somebody just sat down and like gave me this tool. So instead of me to my time creating my Redux or having my type, I have this tool that does everything, more or less everything for me. Yeah. And yeah, React gives you options as a result of this ecosystem. You know how, so it is not exactly mandatory to use TypeScript in React, but React has like the full support for TypeScript. It is trusted by amazing companies. See, Airbnb, Uber, Netflix, so Instagram, Pinterest, Medium, Twitter, Discord, Slack, even Facebook use it internally. So the thing is, ask yourself this question. If so many amazing companies are using React, why are you not using it? Just ask yourself. So yeah, the community is beautiful. I said that, I think I talk about that. You know, being built at Facebook, the library is supported and maintained by the company, and it has like 1,000 plus independent contributors worldwide. So the vibrant community and solid support keeps React very reliable and up to date. And the team is always making development easier, faster, and better. There was actually a time where you had to do this. You had to use Redux, like I use context API. There was a time where you couldn't exactly use functional components unless you were using, if you wanted to have your states, but now you have React hooks. They're just trying to make things easier every day, and it's awesome. So yeah, this is amazing. You can learn it once and write anywhere, because why just stop at the web? So the React DOM, the React itself, React is a library, I said that. And when you download it, you see that you have these scripts. You have this under script, you have React DOM and React DOM and React. So originally it was just React, but they split it because React DOM happens to be for the web. But now React has React Native, which is used to build cross-platform apps. It has React 360, which tries to build exciting VR experiences. It just never stops. Like, it never stops. And that is awesome. That's really awesome. I think my slides are down. Give me a minute. Anyways, because of time, React is hot and trending. See, the thing is, with React, you have React is crazy. It is amazing. You can. It is, as Mark mentioned earlier, React is a good tool if you're looking to get a job in the nearest future. I'm not saying the West don't have amazing job opportunities. They actually do, but then right now I think the market is more inclined towards React than any other. Just to confirm that you people can hear me again. God, 155 messages.
Yes, we are hearing you.
I'm sorry.
You can.
Let me confirm. Oh, I think you cannot hear me.
We can hear you.
You can hear me. React are trying to drag my voice. Leave them more. Leave them. Okay. Let's see. I think my slides are not connected. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm sorry. So vanilla people, yes, it's their work. So let me still continue because of time. So I want to talk about some features that I think they are really important, that you have like a little grasp of them so you understand how React works. I'm going to quickly breeze through them because it's not covered by my talk. So yeah, we have the virtual DOM, and I think it's better. Oh God, you can see my slides with me. Okay. Let me try to reshare my screen. Oh, I'm not even sharing my screen. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about that. So, I think you can see this now. Okay, so fundamentals. These are like main concepts that every React professor must know to like make the perfect React app. And yeah, let's get to them. So there is virtual DOM, and I spoke about it like briefly. The virtual DOM is it is only a virtual representation of the DOM. The DOM we all know, and every time the state of our application changes, the DOM gets updated instead of the previous. So it tries to find the difference between the new and the previous, and then it updates the DOM in real time. And yeah, it observes data changes. That's by using the set state, and it does dirty checking to let us know when to know when to actually render a component. So it doesn't just do it like that. So Mark mentioned that just using the DOM is no, using vanilla can be really expensive, and this can be why. So yeah, so when it checks the new and the old, yeah, it gets to know the possible best method to make these changes in real time. I said that this is another reason why React is amazing. Yeah, JSX. so we're going to consider this variable declaration. It looks really weird that it has const as like a JavaScript keyword. Yeah, it has h1 hello world as HTML. Why are we having JavaScript and HTML together? Is this legal? Should we be thrown in jail? Well, the thing is, the funny syntax that you see there is called JSX, and it stands for JavaScript XML, and it is arguably one of the coolest things in React. I won't even lie, it is awesome, and it allows us to write HTML in React. It is basically synthetic sugar sharp and makes it easy to read and understand large DOM trees. So,
Bami, sorry.
this is just to show you how React works with JSX, how it looks. So this
Bami,
is my elements. So this is some JS. That's the first line. So we are rendering it in the root. So that is writing. That's React with JSX. That's without tears, with JSX minus tears. Then when I do with tears, you do React dot create element h1 dash. See all this story, all this long, necessary, because we have JSX to help us out. But it is not by force that you use JSX. It's just really amazing. I don't know why I don't want to use the sharp. So components. I spoke about components. I said React is component based. That's an amazing thing about React. So components split the UI into independent reusable pieces, and then you can think about each piece in isolation. I think I stressed that part so I can breeze through it. And yeah, so they're like JavaScript functions, and they accept a big input that code pops, and they return React elements and describe what should appear on the screen. So this is a component. This we have two here. We have class-based and function-based. I told you that with the advent of React hooks, we didn't exactly have to use class-based components when we want to set states. So yeah, so this is how a class-based component looks. Basic OAP, a class extends from React.components. So this is how the function-based looks. Const say hello, takes in pops, and it returns hello, I am a component. So I didn't exactly use the pops, but you can actually just maybe if it's taking the pops of name, you can now put hello, my name is, then to display that name. See, I am not the best person to take you through this long journey. You need to sit down and soak in the knowledge that is React. But yeah, I'm just like breezing through. So yeah, pops. I spoke about pops like a bit. So there are arguments that are passed into React components using HTML attributes, and this is it. This is function based. No, this is it now. This is it, and then it enters here, and I'm trying to breeze through this. So the component receives the argument as a pops object, and yeah, I'm trying to breeze through this. So because my time is going. So there is states, and React component has a built-in state object, which, as I said before, you could access using the class-based components. But now you can use React hooks, and those ones are really amazing. So the state object is where you store your property values that belong to components, and as the object changes, the component remembers. So this is an example. You have your constructor. I told you that it's a class-based component, and it takes in props, and it has this dot state of an object of states. Basically, it has the band, the model, the color, the year, and we have this. Once change the color to blue, so we come here and okay, sorry, I didn't set my lights well. Anyways, we do this dot state dot band, and that will give us forward. This dot state dot color, that will give us blue. Remember, we changed the states. This dot state dot model should give us Mustang, and this dot state dot year should give us 1964. So basically, you can store states, you can set states, and yeah. So thank you for coming, I guess. Yeah, thank you very much. It was nice bringing you to the lights, and I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah.
Let's just make awareness on Twitter. Let's tell people that you've got started. Okay.
Sorry,
thank you very much.
sorry.
Thank you so much, so very much, Bami, for the wonderful session. I hope a lot of people will pick up, react, and start doing some amazing stuff. So, if you have any question, you can actually ask through the comment section, or you can unmute yourself and then ask. If you have any question, now is the time to ask before we move to our last session.
Yes, the most interesting session.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, questions, please. I've not seen any question. No. What is happening?
Okay, I think it's safe to tell you that React is like Gatsby is like built on React, so we are kind of writing React and writing Gatsby. Gatsby is really awesome, so I would endorse that, and Vue too. I won't lie, but sure.
It's in the Angular.
I will not lie to you. I think it's also it's also personal preference. I tried Angular and I hated it. I won't lie to you. I did not like it, so I ran away and I never went back.
Yeah, it all depends on personal preference. So, since no questions, let's have the last let's move to the last session, and the last session will be handled by Hassan Sani. Hassan Sani is the founder of Angular Abuja. Is the lead Angular Abuja, and is a Angular person. He loves Angular a lot, so we'll have him to discuss Angular with us. So, guys, if you are here with us, let's have your session. Please.
Let me just confirm if you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank God. I was. I also have to note that it's either. I love what's happening so far, and really impressed. Thank you so much for bringing me on board. I want to say it's either we used Mark's statement where he said view to have a view reacting to this and view. That was because alphabetically I should be the first Angular.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm hoping that maybe I will advise you so that some people can complain that Angular consume their data. So far, just to give you a heads up, my name is Asasani. And as you may have noticed, where you'll be hearing at the background, that's some of my. I also note that I am just like a few hours drive from you guys. I'm in Bida, so not that far from you. And as you notice, you'll be that little. you have that little background of my people speaking, or my twins, which I actually call them Angular and TypeScript. We come over and do the interesting one. So yeah, and I may be screaming their names and say, Angular, please stop that. Please, I'm not talking to you guys, I'm talking to my twins.
Okay,
Let me
okay,
share my
we
screen
get it.
and I'll to confirm if you guys can see my screen.
All right.
Yeah. Are you seeing this?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can
Oh,
see the screen.
everything is working fine so far, but Owl and the rest have not attacked me. So let me so my name is Asasani, full stack main stack developer. Some call me I need a name. I still don't know why. And I will not want to be the person that take too much of your data, because already I know we've taken so much already, and really an awesome speaker so far. Really awesome. I must emphasize that. So my name is Asani. I'm also the host of Talk on Coffee podcast, and like my friend here said, also the lead of Angular Abuja. I'm going to start now. Uh, yeah. So quickly, what is Angular? Angular Angular is a framework that gives you that power to really write sophisticated single applications and yet also achieving efficiency. In the sense, you get to really have access to a lot of tools that gives you that power to be able to develop high grade application. In this sense, you get to have your routing and everything in one application without too much of code. As we move on, I'm going to tell you more about what this is, and I want to also assume that we all here have used HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you may have heard about TypeScript, not my twins. Now I'm talking about the TypeScript here. You may have heard about TypeScript, and even though you've not really used it, let me just quickly put it out there that TypeScript is JavaScript with types, nothing more. That's just what it is. TypeScript is JavaScript with types. So I hear people go around and say, oh, to start with Angular, I need to learn TypeScript. Yes, you need to understand TypeScript. But if you're good with JavaScript already, please, we move on. You move on and use Angular. So what you need is know that TypeScript is just JavaScript with types. Like I used to tell my colleagues, I say JavaScript is one confused boy running on the streets, and then TypeScript came and said, no, follow this way, don't do that, do this, and all those kind of things. But as interesting as it is, so Angular is that framework that gives you the power to do so much sophisticated application efficiency and also achieve efficiency. And this now, what does that really mean for you? You say with a single app application using Angular, you see that Angular, that's too fast. I'm supposed to go down. So Angular supports tools across devices. Like you write one code and you see you don't really have to go too much of changing the logic. Let me emphasize on the logic here. You get to write a logic code and you're accessing so much of your DOMs. You're working with your so doing API calls, which you don't really need to change if you have to switch between, say, browsers and devices and browser devices to achieve your application. Out of the box also, Angular provides you polyfills. That's why I said Angular gives you the chance to build sophisticated and also achieve efficiency with your application. Out of the box, it gives you polyfills and a lot of other tools as we continue. I'm rushing through this thing, and please, I'm not saying the comment side, so I don't want to. If you feel I'm speaking in tongues, you have the chance to say, or maybe say in the comments, what's Abdul will say, please, someone does not understand what you're saying. So to go on, so it gives you the power to have a full package application out of the box with all these features in it, write code for all devices, providing polyfills out of the box and all those other things. Now, to say, let me quickly, I'm trying to do this in such a way that you don't get to say Angular is consuming your data. That's why my words are really running fast. I understand we don't have jollof to share, so let's not consume your data. Yeah. So Angular, one of the amazing tools that Angular have is Angular CLI, which is a command line that gives you the chance to create an Angular application using CLI, using command line interface. Now you see, as just that click goes, with one blow, you have your application down and ready to go. You have everything out there. Also to point that some of this we're not going to have that code samples here, because this is more like an how, not and this is more like on why, not on how talk. And I hope that next meetup we'll get to do on how you can really work with Angular. So with Angular CLI, you get to do a lot with your application. You get to do just one line of instruction. You have a component out there that you can quickly edit. You have inbuilt tools. You have other services you can really work with. Now, to move on, with also Angular comes with internal tools, some other internal tools that really make Angular to come out as a framework. I really love this guy, by the way. That's why. And one other thing again I love about Angular is why I actually repeat these things, because the two of them is with Angular you get to use schematics. What is schematics? Schematics is just a way of defining some set of libraries or set of functionalities you want your application, your constant organization or applications will use. And with just that, you can, okay, say some of you, I want to agree that some of you here are familiar with Bootstrap. So what you will want to add Bootstrap to Angular. Yes, and it is like this with a lot of frameworks and libraries that you use. When you're adding, you have to do some configuration, you have to do some editing and some other, but with schematics, Bootstrap actually have a schematics. So with schematics, it's just one line and you have your configuration ready, you have your installation ready, and you can also build your own schematics. That's where Angular builders come in. You can also write your own schematics or builders or libraries which give you that chance to do these things for your organizations, which again bring me to the part where you can also build libraries that you can use. Libraries such as maybe as you go on, you're upgrading skills and you're able to really write such libraries like, let me use this word, jQuery. Oh, that would be huge, but let's just say you want to write something mimicking jQuery, but simple. With Angular, you can really do that. That's why I started with Angular is a framework that gives you that much power building sophisticated application and this thing. Also, to always warn you, my background has that, my language noises. If you feel I'm being too much, you can come down to Bida. I'm sure that the military man will allow you pass. All right. So with that, Angular CLI, with this all its internal tools, is one way of scaffolding your application, and you're moving with it. You're moving on with it. So moving now, Angular is also one framework that really try to maintain that separation of concern. First of all, separation is just a way of defining your application between the data model and all those business logics you want to work with. Say if you're seeing the image down there, you will see that there is that 4 files on the left of the image. Yeah, on the left side of the image, there's the app component CSS, the HTML, the specs, and the TypeScript. Now, to mention, type.cs is how you save your TypeScript files. It's not .js. Like I said, it's just JavaScript with types. Now, Angular also provides you that chance to write tests for your application out of the box, not really trying to add another library or another function. You write the test, and as you grow as a developer, writing tests is one amazing skill you should really have. I didn't mention, but there is a link down there. If you want to follow along with this slide as it continues, you can use that link. You see it on the next slide. So with this, you have the app model, app component. Now with separation of concern also, you can say you want to fetch an API. I would like to go back so you can see that link and you can use it. It's down there, slides. I need the name Angular Live. So to go back, continue with what I was saying. Separation of concern. Say you want to do an API call. You see like the amazing Bami who was really preaching React. I was almost falling in love. And like she said, you want to write an application and you have 1,000 lines of HTML and JavaScript and all those things. With Angular really try to achieve separation of concern. Say you want to do an API call, you will look at it will not be Angular gives you that thing we call Angular services. With Angular services, you just create a service, implement your API call, do everything you want to do, and you call the services. It will do the API call for you, and you can now present it to your logic, your view, your model, whichever you want it to provide. Also, Angular go all the way to provide you something called guards, which is a way of implementing authentication. Angular guards will give you that chance when you do say you want to authenticate based on levels, based on who to log in or log someone out, who should have access to things. You will use Angular guards. And Angular guards will do the checks on based on levels you've given this person, if it's supposed to be a logged in user or just an OpenJS to use. With Angular guards, you can achieve that. Angular separation of concern goes so deep that it's one of the very interesting aspects of Angular. And as a framework, I'm really emphasizing the name as a framework. That's why I felt I was not as alphabetically Angular comes first. So as a framework, you notice you don't really need so much of, if I want to do this, I need to plug this in. If I don't, no, most of these things are already in Angular. Is if it's routing, it's already in the framework itself. And that gives you so much to do. If I want to talk about separation of concern on Angular, I think that should be a separate class on its own. But I hope that you've gotten some of the things I would like to point out. Also, Angular, with that aspect in place, that separation of concern in place, Angular gives you the chance to easily debug your codes. You don't really lose your brain in, again, I'm going to refer back to that 1,000 lines of code to read, because when you have, say, an API call, and maybe your API call is not really doing well, you'll be like this guy looking for which one should I hold on to? Should I hold on to the API, or should I scroll down to where I'm doing if and else the person really do the API call? With Angular separation of concern, again, you get that chance to, let me just go to the service application, because yes, my API is not really making calls. It's nobody's fault. It's the service I need to check and do the edits. And also Angular has so many debugging tools that you can use in case it goes beyond that. And probably maybe your view is not working, or maybe your HTML layout is not really proper arranged as you thought it was. You can just go to the HTML file and pick where the problem may be. Now, probably it's not the HTML, your CSS color is not really arranged, it's not really doing what it should do. You know that, okay, it's the CSS file, I know which one to really talk to. I don't need to go around all the 1,000 lines of code I have written, as it may be. So I'm going to give you that strength of debugging your code and with comfort. Yes, that doesn't mean you're still with Facebook. You will. Yeah. Now Angular support web component. What are web components? Web component is custom elements you can use in your HTML code and work with. Like I mentioned earlier, that Angular has polyfills out of the box. You can use polyfills. There are a lot of them. Google
live streaming is on.
Okay. I like that. Let me. So Angular is built by large community and maintained by this community to give you the support out of the box. Angular is open source. I must mention, maintained by in-house Google and all these developers, amazing developers out there, to really give you support on what you may face or you need to learn about and others. So Angular is being used by organizations such as YouTube TV is built on Angular, PayPal, Xbox Live. There's so many applications. And in fact, in Nigeria, I did the research some times back, and I learned that if not about 20 to 30% of banks actually use Angular in-house. So Angular is really out there, and it's should I say, job available out there, especially mostly here in Nigeria also. So I'll move on. Now, Angular itself has only 2 versions. This is one thing that keep people confused about Angular. Oh, I need to learn version Angular JS. I need to go to Angular 2, 3, 4, Angular 2, 4, 5, 6. No. Angular is just Angular JS and Angular. Angular JS is I would call it Angular 1, that was built on JavaScript. It uses JavaScript as its core language, core language for you to work with your application, to build your application. Now, as time goes on, the TypeScript was brought into Angular, and Angular was born, which is Angular 2. Now, that Angular TypeScript is still what we have right now, which has actually moved to Angular 9. Angular 9 has other amazing features such as Ivy, which gives you fast rendering and a lot of other interesting features. Where you can learn more about Angular is on Angular IO or Dev to Angular. On this, all of this, or you can also reach out to me and we'll talk more. But to also mention that Angular on TypeScript and uh, features like you hear people say when I like like why I am actually running now is because I don't want to hear the fact, hey guy, it was Angular that consumed my data. Yeah, people will tell you that Angular consumes data. No, Angular have that inbuilt feature of lazy loading some of your modules so that it only render what your user intends to have. Angular have that out of the box. Also, Angular have a way like the IV I mentioned recently also give you the power of reducing your application to a very low minimum size. Like I said, I'm really trying to get the part where people will not tell me, guy, Angular consume my data. But just to move on and really give you a quick view, like I said, this is not going to be on how to do, but why. So if there is any question you have, you can always reach me on Twitter. I'm there. I need a name. Someone was saying he's going to give me a name on this meetup. I don't know when that is happening. And I hope that I have used my speed to give you a little on what is so far with me.
But just because of that.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
They don't want to say out of place, not really kind of.
Someone is saying something, but I can't really hear. Are you? Okay, until I get that name. Okay. Sorry. Okay, before someone was saying something, I didn't get that, but I'm just going to go to where I see a question that says, should someone learn more than one or choose one? Okay, and why do you choose? Let me answer the first, choose one more than one, choose one. What I always advise newbies is that learn JavaScript first. Work with what a lot of my colleagues have mentioned here, personal preferences, what work for you. Everything at the end of the story is doing the same problem, solving the same problem, giving your users that aspect. And one place that Angular has been strong is when you want to work. Not that all this framework don't support large scale application, they do. But one place it has actually helped is when you want to work on large scale application because of TypeScript, you get to pass actual code through around and it doesn't really bore you. Now, I got a question: why choose Angular over React and Vue? I think that answers that answer will also reflect on what I first said. Personal preference is not really that, but if that's on me, that question is actually me. I would say I chose Angular because I was deep in it already, and it was an interesting framework, even when it was Angular JS. And then when it became Angular, I started really working with it. Like I said, personal preference is not something I was over, and I can't really react to some of those views I see there. So Apple Connect uses Angular. Apple Connect uses Todd. You see another interesting. I didn't know that, but thank you. That's an interesting one. Apple Connect uses. Is that like you telling me that Apple Connect uses Angular? Yeah. So any other question? Pass link, please via Twitter. Okay, that's not me. Should one learn more than? I think we've answered that. You just started 4 days ago. Yeah. What's your view of the life cycle of TypeScript? Okay, so life cycle, I want to assume you mean the existing life cycle of TypeScript. One thing I mentioned with some of my colleagues is that everything that TypeScript is implementing, JavaScript will come and have that. Not everything, sorry, not everything. Most things that TypeScript is, yes, okay. Most things that TypeScript is doing now, JavaScript will try to implement that in future. So the life cycle of TypeScript is one thing I know is when languages like JavaScript or these core languages come on board, they try to maintain that initial aspect of how you use it so that you don't confuse a large community of people on how to work with tools. So I feel no matter how it goes, JavaScript is still going to remain with its core functionality, which is really beautiful because it gives large community on how to keep up with that. Oh, okay. 1.5.8 to be specific. Are we talking about the connect? Yes. Okay. So that's so I like TypeScript. TypeScript will I believe it's always going to be there to provide. Why would you choose Angular in the project? I mentioned earlier that Angular resides more on when it comes to large application. So you are, if you feel Angular, if you feel your application will need large quantity, and again, I must really emphasize that any of this framework can achieve that. In fact, even vanilla JavaScript can do that, but it gives you more way to. Let me take you back to when there was really a strength on C sharp. People all these static type languages, people use that because I can tell when I'm passing a parameter, I'm telling the person, because I know it's large, I don't really need to be there when the person is doing something. He knows this type is a number and all those things. So one of the reasons why you would do that is look at your project. Does it really entails that large and you want to use that? Fine. Please can all the speakers share links to books, ideas, and other resources that can be helpful? Yes. Tell me. Tell me law. Yeah. Thanks. Sorry, I have a name. I have a naming pronunciation problem. The interesting thing is on Angular you can go that um what kind of on Angular you can go on that dev2/Angular. There's a lot of content you can follow and learn more about Angular. What kind of architecture does ng uses compared to Vue and React? I just said, I don't react to the views of this, some of these views. So I don't really have that much when it comes to Vue or React. But Angular's architecture is again trying to focus on static typing, trying to focus on separation of concern, trying to give developers that easy to use code across applications, and trying to trying to do these serious three things in place. For React, that architecture, comparing to all this other framework, I feel it's not something I would say I can, because I'm not, again, too much on some of these tools. Another question? While we are waiting for questions, where are those names that you're going to give me? Consuming API using ng, is it advisable to use interface for the model or class? Okay. I will now. Okay, I will go with, if you are using class, say that would be, let me call it, you're overkilling it. Just like the picture I started with where the guy was carrying a horse. That's what you'll be doing. So I will advise you use an interface, because interface does not, when TypeScript transpile to JavaScript, interfaces don't transpile to JavaScript. It's just for you to keep your guide and this thing. Now, the difference, that's the major difference between class and interface. So you would want to have more of your codes running on let me call it, of unused code running in your application. So I will really advise you use interface compared to class. Interface does not really transpire to JavaScript when you try, but class may do. I'm using the word may because every other code you need a class. For the model. Oh wait, for the model. Yeah, no, interface still interface. Yeah, but now when you're fetching an API, when you're doing separation of cluster, like I mentioned earlier, you will be using a service. Which service is a class? Service is not an interface. A service is a class that which will really end up transferring to your JavaScript code for production base. I want to assume that answered the question. Yeah, very better, because you don't need the checks to see what interface we do when you're fetching an API is to let you know what your calls are, what your parameters are, and what your parameters and calls are. So that in that way, you don't really need to know that in your production code. It's for developer, and interface is better. But making the API call now, making the API functional call now, it should be your okay. So you said model, yeah, that answered your question.
Yeah, okay. I guess there are no more questions. Or if you have any questions, I guess you can reach him on Twitter. Sorry, could you drop your Twitter handle on the chat? So
Yes, like someone said, I need a name, and I would really love you guys keep the distance, stay safe. I will do that. I just wanted you guys to see me saying keep distance and stay safe. And thank you so much. Let me do that now. It's INIDAN on all the platforms. I need a name like this on Twitter, GitHub, and anywhere. That's my Twitter handle. So, guys, keep safe and uh, should I say stay at home? We didn't. I hope that we could have shared the jollof, but all good. Thank you very much.
all right, thank you very much. Okay, you guys, we're almost done. It's just for us to round up, and I'm going to call on Khadija. I don't know if she's here to just round things
Oh,
up.
okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. So first of all, I would just have to say, wow. So it's like I'm here
We
and
can hear you.
Hassan.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
So I'm here, and Hassan was talking about how we did not have jollof. For me, my brain has had enough jollof for, for, for the, because this is jollof, and this is Nigerian jollof, by the way, to be specific. So like we've had awesome speakers, Awal, Mark, Obinab, Bami, my React preacher, and Hassan. And we've I really like this because I'm actually kind of a newbie in the whole web dev process. And I actually jumped right from basic JavaScript to React. And now I will hear Awal's preachings and have a very long talk with vanilla JavaScript docs, because it seems you really need it, and I'm going to really try and do it. And for all the people that are here today, all as we've shared our opinions, we've asked our questions, and I hope all our questions have been answered well. And if you have more questions, we have a Twitter handle, we have a WhatsApp group. You can ask questions. You can connect directly to our speakers or any of the organizers. If there's a way to answer your question, or if there are resources that can answer your question, you definitely get it. So I'd like to thank everybody for being here for the whole, wow, 3 hours, 6 minutes. So thank you very much for being here, and I hope we all had a wonderful meetup.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. We'll try to see how we can host another session where you'll get you started with more like a code lab soon. We'll work on it. God's grace. So thank you very much. That's the link to our WhatsApp group, please. But the first thing you do if you join the WhatsApp group, try to read the group instruction because it is very important, right? And try to engage in whatever thing we do because there's a library we are working on. It's called purge.js. If you don't talk, if you are inactive, we delete you. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. See you all in the next session or next meetup. Bye bye.